but it's helping people see an authentic Jesus, the same type of Jesus that I know and love.
All of those emotions of feeling insecure, all of the experiences from my past, like all of those heavy things that was keeping me in one place came flooding out of me.
Inevitably, it's not until I'm there, the blood, sweat, and tears, seeing really what they're doing, hearing the real life stories from people, that's when the song comes.
Hello and welcome to Latter-day Profiles. I'm Brian Howard. We're here at the LDS Motion Picture Studio in Provo, Utah. And joining me today is Kirby Heyborne. Kirby, welcome.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Oh, what a treat, Brian. Thank you.
Everybody knows Kirby from, the good old days, back when the LDS cinema was big, the RM and The Best 2 Years. A lot of great films back then. And man, it's been a while. You look the same. So that's not fair. You look the same.
My hair's taller. That's the only difference.
Well, you also host a TV show on BYUtv called Making Good, which hopefully people have seen that. We're going to be on BYUtv again. So if you watch Sunday mornings, make sure and check out Making Good as well. I didn't know this. Actually, my wife and I got in, it wasn't an argument, it was a disputation. I was listening to Saints Volume 2. She said, that's Kirby. I said, no, are you sure? So good thing we didn't put any money on it, but she won. It definitely was you. So you've been doing voiceover as well for audiobooks and other things like that. So lots of cool things. I was looking at, I noticed you got from the U a degree in economics.
Yes.
So how did that lead to your performing career? No.
That's a great question, yeah. How does it?
No, how did you decide that performing, because you do music, you do voiceover, you do acting, when did you decide that was kind of your thing?
Oh, when I was born.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then I started doing music up at the University of Utah as a degree, and once I got married, realized maybe I can't support a family in the entertainment industry with an entertainment degree, so I chose economics. Still, my heart was in music and voiceover and acting, but I thought it's better to get experience in that and get a degree, and then so I got that economics degree, and I use it every day. I know you have to make money.
That's an important.
That's what I learned. 4-year degree.
A very important thing. Still, and like I said, to be honest, I haven't changed it much. You look great. When you run into people, especially from my age group, the RM was really popular. The Best 2 Years. Yeah. What kind of feedback do you still get from people who run into you and say, "Oh, it's Kirby from the movie"?
It's always so positive. People are so kind, and I love being the person that people are excited to meet. Just last night, we were at a volleyball game down at BYU, and a young lady came up to me and said, I love The Best 2 Years. Because of The Best 2 Years, I'm going to be serving a mission. And that's the greatest thing to hear from people. And it's this new young generation. She put in her papers, she's leaving in about a month. But that's the response that I get. People are excited and say, yeah, Best 2 Years, that is a movie that encouraged me to stick through my mission. It is called The Best 2 Years, and missions are, but they're really hard. And so people find inspiration from the sweet little character I played. Yeah,
no, that's great. I was talking with the kids a while back, and we were talking about the RM, and then realized they'd never seen it. So went looking for, we had, of course, a VHS copy, which did us no good because we don't have a VCR. So we had to find it. I think he found it streaming on one of the services and watched that.
Great.
So, and Next Generation was got the joy of watching those films, which was a lot of fun. How did the voice acting, the audiobooks, how did that come about?
So audiobooks came about, we moved from Utah to California about, it's been about almost 20 years now. And I did a play when I was down there in Los Angeles, and it just so happened that the playwright was friends with the guy, that's how it always is, who was the executive producer for Books on Tape. And 20 years ago, that was the only real audiobook company. They've since been purchased by Penguin, and then they've been purchased by Random House. So it's a big conglomerate now. But so the guy doing the sound design happened to be the executive producer for Books on Tape. And he said, hey, you've got a youthful voice. Do you want to do an audiobook? And I said, what's an audiobook? Oh, a book on tape. Oh, yeah, I know what that is then. And then so I've been doing that now almost 20 years. I've got, over 1,000 titles that I've done. I've been fortunate to do the history of the church. I'm working on volume 3 right now. and it's amazing.
I'll say I ventured into that once, as somebody asked me if I could help them out. That was laborious. And, you think about, well, yeah, I can read, but I never ventured into doing like different characters and things like you do in your books. What does it take to prepare for that? Because, people listen to those, and there is a big difference. You listen to an audiobook that's not as exciting, but you do a great job, and I really appreciate the way you do it.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. A lot of the books that I get to do are young adult books, and the history of the church was written at an 8th grade level, make it accessible to everybody. And so when they approached me, they said, we want you to do what you do, which is add a little bit of youthfulness. And if you've listened, I do some slight accents, not too much, but just enough to give some color to some of the characters. But it's so much fun being able to do those characters. And when I'm preparing a book like Saints, I'll read through it. There's not much really to prepare other than research. Where was George Buchanan from, and at what age did he move from Liverpool to the United States, and how much would that affect his accent by the time he would be saying these words? But I'm such a nerd for history, and especially church history, so it wasn't really work. It was just enjoying and preparing. If it's a book that is fiction, I usually need to read through pretty extensively to see if there are any twists, if there are any characters that in the beginning they sounded a certain way, especially like a mystery. What if this mother, who is the phone call that's coming throughout, there needs to be some coloring throughout of that mother. So it takes a while, but I love it. It's the greatest gig. I get to make people happy by doing service on Making Good, and then another thing is I get to read books for a living.
How long does it take you? So, a young adult book, a couple hundred pages, all the characters. How long does it take you to get to there and record the whole thing? I'm assuming somebody else edits after you get done, but that's my guess.
Yeah, somebody else edits it. I record it at my studio at my house. It takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days, an average book. Some take a couple of weeks, but usually 3 to 5 days.
Favorites? Any favorites? Obviously, doing the stuff for the church was a lot of fun. I appreciate that. That was my lawn mowing. I listened to it as I was mowing the lawn. So I don't know if that's PTSD. Now I always have my hands.
It's so funny because it's like asking what's your favorite kid. I love church history stuff. But you mentioned people listen while they're doing activities, and some people listen to audiobooks because they can do it faster than reading. So my wife and I, we joked with a friend who said, oh, I'm listening to this nonfiction title, and he said, I listened to it on 1.5 speed. And just jokingly, I said, that offends me as a narrator. You don't know the blood, sweat, and tears that I'm putting into every character. And he laughed but then was embarrassed, and he said, well, what's a book of yours that I should listen to on regular speed? So I gave him one of the most boring books that I've done. So you would think my wife, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, that she would know you don't listen to audiobooks on anything other than 1 speed. So the other day, she was listening to some book. It's a friend of mine who was narrating it, and she said, oh, you got to hear this section. And she pushed play, and it was like 1.25. I could hear that it was faster, and she hurried and scrambled, and I'm listening to it regular speed.
That's right, and I don't want to be one of the chipmunks. Please don't put me at 1.5 or 1.75.
Right.
That's even worse.
Oh, we work so hard to do it. But the thing is, I listen to it that fast as well. Podcasts, everything. You want to get through it really quick.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I have assignments for my students at school, and I advise them, okay, you can listen to it faster, so this is perfectly fine. Commercials. You've done a lot of commercials. Still do. That's an interesting process because you have to audition, and there's a whole variety. How do you go through that process? And I'm sure agent or something working with you say, here's a potential commercial. How does that process go about? Sounds pretty daunting.
It is, and it's the worst, to be honest. But it's exactly what you said. You have an agent who hears about a commercial. The casting director for the commercial says, we need a congenial 5'11" type guy. Submit, and then 100 or 500 or 1,000 me's get submitted. They cull through them, and then you go on audition. If they like you, you come back a few days later. If they like you then you come back with directors and producers and clients, and then you can shoot it. I've shot so many commercials over my career, and I would say a third of them haven't even aired.
Really?
So you think, oh, I finally got through that whole process. I made it to the audition. I made it to the callback and made it in front of the director, and I'm on set and we're filming, and even then, sometimes it doesn't even air.
Doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Not happy with whatever. Hopefully they still pay you if you win.
They do.
Oh, thank
yeah.
goodness.
But it's a hard process. A lot of people say, so I want to be an actor. What do I need to do? And I give them advice. And it's not very glamorous or romantic or fun. It's a lot of hard work. And the majority of your life you hear, no, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too good looking. You get that a lot, I'm sure, Brian. We can't have you because you're too good looking.
That's right, yeah.
So it's a hard life. You hear no a lot. But when you hear those yeses and you get great projects like Best 2 Years or Making Good, it makes all the difference, and it makes it all worth it.
What's the difference? You're back in Utah, been back here for a couple of years. Same processes or roles and things living in Utah that you can do, or being close to, I guess, the head end of things in Los Angeles and in California. Is that different?
I had great relationships with my agent and casting directors and directors in LA. So actually, since I've lived here, I've shot a couple of commercials just because, and I didn't even have to go down to audition, which is great. You live long enough, hopefully you get to that point that you don't have to audition. But the majority of my time is taken up with audiobooks and making good. We go around the country filming great organizations, people that are making a difference in the world, and that takes up the bulk of my time. So fortunately, I think I'm past the stage of having to audition because I've got the show now.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I won't ever audition again, but I sure don't miss
You don't miss it.
auditioning. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Making Good. How does that come about?
A good friend of mine, Greg Kiefer, beautiful man. We'd worked on some commercials together when I lived here before I moved to LA. And then we shot a film when I lived in LA. He was a producer on a film. And over the years, we just kept saying, let's do something again together because we get along really well. And he came up with the idea of Making Good, and he pitched it to me. And he said, this is going to be fun. People will love seeing you get in over your head, see you struggle. And then I pitched him the idea, how about as a gift to the organizations, I'll write a song every episode. And he said, sure, if you can do that. So then we pitched it to BYUtv. They liked it, we liked them, we liked the direction that BYUtv was going. And now it's 3 years in.
Wow.
And we're about in the middle of our 4th season of filming, and it's great. And I get to work with great people. Like Greg is one of the greatest, kindest human beings, and I've shared this before, but the beautiful thing with the people that I work with, there are 6 of us that go out. There's me, Greg, who's the creator. We've got a producer, we've got a director, and then we've got 2 camera guys generally that change out sometimes, but for the most part, it's 6 of us regulars. And on the 2nd episode, we were giving food to people who had just suffered the catastrophe of a hurricane. And it was beautiful that instead of continuing to film, all of the people, all of the crew, the 6 of us, put down cameras, put down sound, we're trying to get a dramatic show here, and it's more important that we help these people. And so we've now done almost 40 episodes. Every episode, there are moments where cameras get put down and the crew is coming out to help, which isn't a typical reality show. It's usually, let's get the drama, let's get the sadness, let's see how much we can get into this show. And these are the type of guys that say, no, we're gonna help.
Jump in and help.
And so I'm seeing the best in humanity with these organizations, but then I'm dealing with the best in humanity. The group of people that I travel around with are just beautiful human beings.
What a great switch in, television, because most of the time you think, television,
I know.
Not so good, but that's totally awesome. How do you decide, where you're going to go? So you're setting up a season. How far in advance do you decide we're going to go here and who you're going to work with?
Yeah, it's usually a few months out. There's somebody at the production office that looks up organizations that are unique. Each organization, for the show to work, it has to have certain elements. It has to be something that's hard for me to do physically, something that I'll kind of look like a fool doing, that I don't know how to do. It has to be meeting a need in a unique way, and they just have to have be available with our shooting schedule. So somebody does that, and then we vet those. We get on the phone with them, we talk about them, and say, can we get a story out of this? The main thing that we love to do with the show is highlight these organizations in a way that just a regular documentary wouldn't.
Yeah.
I come in as an innocent, naive person, kind of like a regular person, or the audience, and I really see how the organization works. And by the end of each episode, it's genuine. Kirby, the character being played on the show, and myself, Kirby, I change and I see really what the organization is about. And every time I'm inspired to go and do something good again. And that was the whole goal that Greg and I wanted with the show, was at the end of the day, people either join up with that organization that we're highlighting or donate money to help them continue their vision, or they go and start something themselves in their own backyard. So
that sounds amazing, actually.
So beautiful.
How long does it take you? You go out and you're on a place. I guess it depends on what's going on, of course. But how long have you spent in a particular location?
It's generally 5 days. We fly out, we get some kind of easy stuff in the afternoon, and then we just dive in for 3 solid, hard days, 14, 16-hour days of just getting in with the organization, doing their hard work, and then we fly out on the 5th day. I come home usually and sit my family around the TV, and I have my phone with all the pictures and put them up on the TV and say, oh, and this is this person, and oh, this was a special story that happened here. And then I'll sing them the song that I wrote. We'll all cry, and then we move on to the next thing. So that's the process. So it's a 5-day process of me going through therapy, ending with my family and I crying.
No, that's great. Are you involved in the after it's all shot? Are you involved with the selection, the editing, the post production at all, or you leave that
I
to
do look at it, but that's more talented people than me know that stuff.
Yeah. What's the most difficult thing that someone has had you do as you're going through on there? Yeah, they give you some interesting tasks.
I know there's been some hard physical things, for sure, like moving wood and building things and crushing cans on that barbecue episode. But for me, it's so hard. I've dealt with some animals, and animals, they just poop everywhere, and I'm not very good with that. And it just, for me, that's harder than loading up a whole trailer full of wood. Cleaning out possum poop is just gross. That's hard.
All right. Well, make sure as we're planning for the next few episodes that you're not going to work with any more animals. What do you think? As far as the future goes with this program, similar things. Anything interesting planned in advance? I know we're going to be seeing this several months from when we're talking right now. Yeah. But what kind of irons do you have in the fire?
With Making Good, or with? Well, we're always looking for great organizations that meet a unique need. We're going to be dealing with an addiction recovery program. I think by the time this comes out, a great school that is like the last chance for some kids that the world has given up on. It's amazing. I get to see the best of people. I've been to prison. That was something that was amazing, that we're taught that we're supposed to visit those in prison and feed the hungry and clothe the naked, but we often neglect the prison. And that was a life-changing experience, meeting those men there and being able to look at them how the Savior looks at them, not as their mistake, but as sons of God. And that was a beautiful experience.
And I'm thinking you're so multifaceted. So you're writing a song. So do you have something in mind before you get there of writing the song?
I tried in the beginning. I thought, oh, I can make this so much easier because we've got a few weeks in between. I can look up the organization online and like write some ideas down. And inevitably, it's not until I'm there, the blood, sweat, and tears, seeing really what they're doing, hearing the real live stories from people, that's when the song comes. So there have been a couple that I went in with some melody and some ideas and then had to scrap them completely. And so now my process is daunting, lots of tears. I listen that first whole day and I take notes on my phone, and then I come home to my hotel and write down ideas and play with some melody. And then it's really the next day I have to have the song finished by the end of that next day because I perform it the third day. And so that night, so there's the first day, the second day night, I just furiously write. And one thing that I love, I know that this is these voices of these organizations and the people that are receiving these benefits, they need to get out. And I know that we're all sons and daughters of a loving Heavenly Father. So I absolutely, before I start writing in earnest, I'll say a prayer and say, what is it that these people need to hear from Heavenly Father? And it doesn't come like really quick, but it does come once I have that focus and I come prepared. I'm sure there's a lesson in there, right?
Yeah.
I come prepared with all of my notes and everything and a little bit of the melody, but it's not until I say a prayer and say, Heavenly Father, what do you want these people to hear? That it all comes together, the metaphors come together, the music comes together, and it's a beautiful experience.
Strikes me as spending that much time in close proximity, 2 or 3 days with those people in the organization, you probably develop some attachments, and actually kind of hard to leave sometimes.
It is. And I think that's why I feel good leaving a song with them. It's a gift to them that they can use in any way that they want, and it's a way of them knowing I've learned what you are and what you do, and you're seen and you're important. But yeah, for sure, it's hard to leave, especially knowing that they are going to have to wake up tomorrow and do the exact hard thing again. And I leave and get to go home and offload onto my family. So by being able to leave a song with them, that keeps a relationship. And I still have great contact with a lot of the organizations that I've worked with, and I've volunteered. Some are in Utah, have chapters in Utah, and I've gone and volunteered with them without the cameras, which is interesting too. That goes back to the people that I work with. There was an organization that we did just about a month ago, and then they had an event in Utah. They do basketball with kids with disabilities and adults with disabilities, and none of us talked, and none of the crew talked that, oh, hey, we're going to go, that we heard that it's happening in Utah. And I show up there with my family, and then Greg shows up with his family. Wait, what are you doing here? Oh, I love this organization. I want to help. And then one of the camera guys shows up with his family. The next camera guy shows up. The director shows up. Next thing you know, it's a Making Good crew reunion with no cameras.
Wow.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. So aside from Making Good, what's in your future? I mean, you do music, and you continue to do music. You continue to do improv, I think.
Yes.
You got lots of things going on. What's in your future? And do you have a favorite? I mean, if you could choose, is it improv? You do the TV show. What's your favorite? I joke that my favorite thing is what's ever paying me at the time. That's a good answer.
So also, yeah, you hear the phrase, you need to have as many irons in the fire like this as possible.
Right?
It is hot. But I believe you need to have as many irons in as many fires as possible when you're in the entertainment industry. So I'm writing a script right now, and hopefully we start filming shortly. We're really close to funding, and it's a beautiful film. Super excited about it. So yeah, that's the next thing.
All right. Well, I guarantee, promise me when the film is made, then we can talk again and we can talk all about it.
Oh,
I'm
and
anxious
you
to see
will
it.
love it. It'll be great.
Kirby, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you. Kirby Heyborne, actor, voiceover, audiobooks, musician, you name it, you do it. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Thanks, Kirby.
Thank you so much, Brian.